Welcome back, fellow armchair generals. This is Gamer 1745 here with my continuing playthrough of, yes, you got it, Hearts of Iron 3 with Black Ice 9.11. And yes, this is Japan, and we are pocketing more and more Chinese forces. German trained light infantry I see here. That's supposed to be D-88. That was sort of at least the one I remember, because 88's easy to remember. There were a couple other divisions that Germany trained, and it was sort of considered to be the elite division of the Chinese Nationalist Army. I think it gets destroyed more or less fighting for Nanking, or the approaches there to it, or some such thing. But I'm not absolutely sure on that. Are we all, yeah, they're all attacking. Oh, we need to move a little faster. Okay, HQ division, so division HQs. And we're going to let that continue. Good, we got this blocked off. I think we're going to attack immediately so that they don't get a chance to dig in or retreat. We do have these guys crossing over here. Okay, allow research of small fuel tanks, which allows research of improved single engine fighters, and yeah, we should be sort of ahead of the curve. Money for crude oil, no thank you. Iran, money for fuel. Okay, we are trying to improve relations with them. They're hammering into there. Let's come here. I'm really starting to smell victory. Not that the fighting is over or anything quite like that, but starting to smell victory. And also, I didn't think we were going to be defeated before. It's just how do I put it? Issues in doubt. Okay, these guys, they'll come in and support that attack. Oh good, they've got supplies now, so they can come this way. They can come down this way. Might as well send them there. Good, we got these two provinces back. Jungle, I think the Marines will do the best in the jungle. Good, another pocket. Fairly decent sized one, at least when it started. You counterattack. Uh-oh, more partisans. We are producing a lot more supplies than we need. Don't know why that's that way. Let's try again with the Soviets. I know I accepted one of their offers, which improves relations a little bit, but not enough. Okay. Sweden, they've got money, need supplies. No, they wanted to sell us stuff, but don't want to buy from us. The Philippines, they're a puppet. I don't think they'll buy. Ireland, need and have money. You too far away? No? Okay. Let's do 3. See if we can get that going and keep it going. Oh, didn't think so. France, they got lots of money coming in. Oh. I know I hit the wrong button. Well, let's try Canada for a supply or two. Brazil? Argentina. Well, they may not have the transport. That could be the main reason. Very good. Okay, these guys are coming there. They're coming there. Let's move you down here. Okay, these are Okay, well, we'll let that go for a little while longer. Come on, get across the river. Aircraft carrier hangars have advanced. Very good. Okay, so we're maxed out on that for time being. We'll do float plane. And looks like we got some more aircraft completed. Very good. Very good. Now 38. Okay, we're sort of looking at roughly a mid-late 41 Pacific War or early 42 type thing, I think. I'm gonna let our, we have, you know, well, that guy was event, but we have a battleship, a carrier, and a light carrier in production, and we can see that these three things are all looking at mid or early here 39. So and we got a lot of these are to build up practicals, plus they're useful. Not super useful, but they're useful. These are what they're building up their practicals for. Japanese copy of the, or not exact copy, but a close thing of the FT-17. They put a side skirt on it, if that's accurate. And the FT didn't have that on there. Yeah, on the original FTs, the front sprocket wheel was wooden, solid wooden, but wooden. Really interesting. Saw it. I like watching videos on things. Of course, I've looked at lots of pictures on it, and this wasn't even, well, it was fairly comprehensive. It was, oh, some guy in America has a private museum of some sort. This wasn't the big collection in California. This was some, I think, smaller, but he'd gotten a hold of a French-made FT-17, the Cannon. This is the machine gun version, the Cannon version. And I've seen supposedly responsible videos that said, oh, well, you know, they started out with a machine gun and then they changed it over to the Cannon. No, they did both. The concept was both. But this was a French-made one that was issued to American units in France because the Americans wanted to build their version of it, but build it American style would be, I think, maybe a good term for it. In that, say, all of the screws and bolts are with the American inch system instead of the you know, metric system or whatnot. I remember having to, when I was removing flash hiders from rifle barrels, because they were a no-no. This was when I was in the gun business. It was easy to get them off there. You just had you got a punch and punched out a little round peg thing that was below the flash hider, and once that was out, then you could, you know, press fit in, and then you just removed a donut thing that, you know, a metal donut that comes out, and then you can just unscrew the flash hider just right off. Just, it's meant for an armor. It's not meant for in the field, but it's meant for, you know, the divisional armor or somebody to be able to, you know, if you damage a flash hider or whatever, and you want to change it, remove it. So I was just taking those off, and they had the threads on the end, and that looked sort of sucky. And my big competition, they were just taking a bandsaw and going cutting those threads off. They later I saw some later production, and you could, and there's a little divot where the little donut sort of hooks into the barrel that was still sort of there. That all looked ugly, and unfortunately I was way too underfunded to get and learning. I was in my early 20s when I was doing this, but yeah, so they were bandsawing it, not even recrowning it, and taking off a 1/4 inch of the barrel changes the ballistics on it. So all these people, and thousands of people, bought the surplus rifles that had been they needed a new receiver because the original receiver could be converted to full auto too easily. So I was getting the receivers and putting the parts kits together, the surplus rifles. So they were just doing that, and then later they were recrowning them, at least, so that it wasn't just a complete, saw cut. But I looked at that and gone, yeah, the threads leaving out there, that sort of sucked. So what I did is I got some chromoly steel tubing, fairly thick sort of pipe, not just any old, chromoly steel, so it can take the heat of it's probably better than the original flash hider, take the heat of all of the fire coming out of the, literally, fire, coming out of the barrel, and deal with that. And so, wanted to screw that on, and it was just short, inch and a half instead of a flash hider. It wouldn't do anything for the flash. It was just straight, and I sort of crowned the cap a little bit. That was easy, but that really didn't matter because the bullet never touched that. It was outside the diameter of the barrel. It's the crowning that really, meaning if my crowning wasn't quite great or anything, because I was sort of doing it by hand. Again, it didn't touch the bullet, so if it was slightly off or something, it didn't affect any ballistics. And so, wanted to put it on there. Well, I found out for some reason the British, when they were making these, this was in the 70s probably, used Wentworth tapping, which I really hadn't heard of at the time. And so I had to go find a proper sized Wentworth tap to ream into the thing so that this, threads would match up to put it on there. And I put it on and just sort of Loctite it in there. You can put it in a vise and pop it off. It was just a end cap / thread protector. And then I sold I think it was $20 for the flash hider if somebody wanted to buy the flash hider. I think everyone who bought my guns also bought a flash hider. But, put it on at your own, and today it would be legal to have on it. Back then it wasn't. So, yeah, so the Americans wanted all the threading and all the parts and all of the things to be American standard. Not that it wasn't, had to be significantly redesigned, but that if you got a bolt or a nut that needed to be replaced, they wanted to be able to go to the equivalent of the American hardware store or whatever and find a, 1/2 inch bolt or whatever the size and something sort of standard to the Americans, and have the same threading and the same, size, and then just be able to screw it on or whatever. They wanted it to be standard American production. Well, to do that and get that done, it was going to have to, they weren't going to be showing up until like mid or late 1919, and the war was basically over by that time. So the Americans were given, I think, new French Renault FT-17s in France. And they brought some of them back after the war. So and it was a really good video tour. It's on YouTube. If anybody wants to poke me enough, I'll add a link to it afterwards. But it was really sort of interesting that they were going over by some of the things, how it worked. That you have to start this vehicle, there's no starter in it. To start it, you have to crank. It comes with a handle that you can slip over that thing to crank the crankshaft to get it started. Now, I don't know why this picture doesn't have one on it. I don't know if it looks like it would easily take it, but they have a thing that comes out like this and then back to there that it would swivel here, and then there's put a rod through and hold it up here to make it better crossing a trench, so that if it's a little too wide or whatever, the back sort of, it falls in and hits and it's fine, and it just drags itself out. But you have to start the tank, every time you want to start it, you have to because to turn this thing, you have to unhook the top and set the back of this, 50, 70 something pound metal framework that, it's still attached at the bottom, so it swivels down, but onto the ground to start the tank, and then hook it back up, and then you can see about getting in the tank and going. Now they do say, and there is a another place, and you can sort of see right through there, is the engine compartment. The crankshaft, I guess, goes through, and there's another position in here to do it from the inside. And they rebuilt the engine, so they said it was particularly stiff because it recently had been rebuilt when they demonstrated it. But they say it would be really hard to do it from the inside. It's impossible. Functionally, it's impossible to turn it. Not theoretically impossible, but practically impossible to turn the crankshaft on the outside without unhooking the trail, or whatever you want to call the thing that goes behind it. Bustle, but a bustle's normally on the back of the turret. I don't know. But I'm seeing like a gun trail. But so I know you want to hear all this. I'm sorry. So you have to hook it, unhook it to get this thing started. And they said, so it's really hard because the spacing, if you can see, the driver climbs in and out of here, and maybe even the commander, but there's also back doors. This top thing, I do believe, opens up, but yeah, you can just get your head out. There's double doors in the back of the turret for the commander to get in and out, but there's almost no room to be in there. But I thought, yeah, I'm sure it's pretty damn hard to turn this crankshaft, and it may get easier, once it's run and used for a while. But I might be really, really motivated if people were shooting at me, my tank stalls out, and I want to get it moving again on a World War I battlefield. I could maybe be really, really motivated to bend down and turn that crank, because it's like it sort of needs to turn where your feet are, where your legs are, so it's sort of really, difficult. Oh, and it's stored underneath the driver's seat, basically. So the driver just has a cushion that sits on the ground, and has the backrest to his seat is just a sort of cloth and leather thing that straps across between one side of the tank and the other side of the tank that leans out, so that way you can unhook it to like climb sort of through. So he's just sitting basically on a cushion on the floor of the tank, the driver is. So it's really tight. But yeah, I could be motivated to get that turned. This looks like a more modern tank, of course, probably with a starter. Okay, a lot more piercing attack for that. Looking at building as you can sort of tell here, an armored division. This is obviously some sort of, and so many countries built general copies of the FT-17. Japan did. Japan ordered a few, and this could even be, but it has these sort of side skirts, and most of the French ones I don't think had side skirts. The Russians made a copy. The Soviets made a copy for a while. The Italians, their early tanks were copies, but Italian-made copies. So again, it's even more than the American one kind of thing. That I think the Italians have a bigger sort of front wheel space or something here, so it's a little taller to be able to climb over obstacles a little better. And so they're not the same, but they're built on the same basic premise. Okay. Well, we have semi-motorized is 5, motorized is 6, but armor, standard armor is 5 for us. For now, that speed may go up, but so I think we're going to stick with semi-motorized infantry. It's only a 3,000 man unit. I think we might stick that on too. And because it has the same basic speed. Okay. Good. Because that's some of the problem with, you know, sustaining some of these advances. Okay, that artillery's at 5. We're going to go with armored cars. I think we're going to go with truck transport. And we're going to go with armored support. Now I'm okay. Been sort of putting this off. Let's take a look here. These are the various areas for armored support. So see, if we wanted to do armored support unit and say attach it to a motorized division, but without a, we're planning on doing that, but we're planning on attaching it to a motor or semi-motorized division. I guess you could attack it to a siege gun or something that doesn't move at all. But we would presumably probably see about doing armor to attach it to a more mobile unit. We could do various tank supports. Just give it a little extra armor, but I don't know that we want to do that. Now we also have tank destroyers, assault guns, heavy assault guns, self-propelled AA. I'm looking at, I think, let's see, armored engineer, that's sort of a 41 upgrade. This some of the things. Don't want to, well, we're not going to be, this is why I sort of haven't done this, and maybe it's good to do now, but I'm sure it is, but we have to think about it. We're not going to be researching assault guns. So assault guns are, I mean, not that we can't have them, but it's not going to, you know, unless we decide to research them, these aren't going to upgrade well. So self-propelled rocket, self-propelled artillery upgrade, that would require pushing through some of these units to get these upgraded. Self-propelled rocket, that could be a thing. Or not rocket, but artillery, sorry. So this isn't that hard for Germany because, as you can see, most of the stuff, and if you do tank destroyers, some of these become available later. It's pretty easy to sort of work out. Because, again, looking at this is sort of why, okay, we have one more slot now, and we may get another slot. So what I'm thinking of is either this guy here to work as our headquarters unit, which would make it a really sort of spiffy unit, or come up here and give him one of these veteran HQs, or there's, I think, a, well, no, we already used the elite division HQ somewhere else. But so we're going to use at least a veteran HQ here. So it's going to have a good HQ unit. So because I'm attaching this specialized light infantry, which will help in some of our, look at jungle attack, minus 49.5%. Jungle attack now is minus 59%. So you can see, and mountains minus 60 attack. Mountains minus 57, so that isn't much of a bonus. But so jungle and a few of the other areas that we're going to be fighting in, likely. Oh, was it Jeff? Sorry if I'm getting confused. Yeah, some of you guys are sort of old friends online, but I remember you, but I'm trying to remember it here. Sort of wanted to see maybe me going after the Soviet Union. And I think he was very much helping out the Germans. Because really, if we were to like, oh yeah, it's 1940, beginning of 1940, we're declaring war against the Soviet Union. Well, they might not crush us. Just because of time, space, and, having threats from, threat from Germany, threat things. But, and maybe because this is the AI, maybe I could do okay over here. You can sort of kind of, if you get Lake Baikal and sort of hold out a couple other, places here, you can sort of do okay maybe. Holding in the mountains and whatnot. So it might not be terrible, but it's only going to be this, I really think. Now, maybe I'm deluding myself and really I'm that good of a general, or the AI that sucks that good or that bad or whatnot, and I'd be driving onto Moscow. Of course, that's ridiculous. But so we know that isn't going to happen. Now, I am perfectly willing to, coming across the river is why you're doing so badly, I think. Perfectly willing to fight the Soviet Union if it looks good for us. And that would be at least Leningrad, Moscow, and Stalingrad have fallen. That doesn't mean the Soviet Union is in near collapse, because they could have a really strong army, just a little ways behind here. I would think about it then, because they would have enough of their troops tied up with the Germans. The Germans would probably be holding and doing well, and that I could gobble up here fairly easy and keep a minimum force holding the front line somewhere else, because we are planning at some point going to war with the rest of the world. Yes, maybe, and I could be talked into an alt series like I've done in the past, like I did that immediate 1940 invasion of the Soviet Union from Germany as an alt series. I could make a save and do an alternative series to a point that comes down to viewership, which the alt series would be, hey, yeah, the Northern Path, and we're going to be at peace with everybody else and not go to war with the Americans or the British at all. Now, I don't know if we're at war with the Soviet Union if they would just declare war against me. I'm sort of afraid they would. Excuse me. So, I don't know if they would or not. But I want to fight, and I've been reading about the Pacific War. I want to fight the Pacific War. That's what I want to do. And I hope there's a good viewing audience for that. As I have said, if we can get the conditions, and if I can get it to happen, and I know it's coming fairly soon, well before the time it would happen, I would be very interested to do a Man in the High Castle scenario of a war between Japan and the rest of the Axis. Do some you know, is my game going to be stable enough? Maybe do some modding to, or, you know, some modding so I can, you know, and try to get, you know, get Japan out of the Axis, reform its own faction, and have its puppets and its allies, you know, like Siam maybe, and Beijing, and eventually once we get enough stuff here, I may set up and release Manchukuo or something, but you know, sort of have the somewhere, you know, holding here, and whether there's a rump Soviet Union in between us, I don't know, holding India, holding, you know, Australia, maybe holding the, you know, Pacific West here in America. I don't know if Germany would be invading America enough to do that, but I would love to, and it wouldn't be set exact same time frame, of course, but that would be an interesting fight to have with the Axis at that time. I know this is turning into much of a talking episode, sorry about that. But if I do it as Germany, you know, if I'm playing as Germany, and I've kicked the Soviet Union's butt, and I've taken, like I often do, much of India, and I've taken all of Africa, and I've yet to see the Japanese invade the United States, so I've taken all of the United States, taken most of South America, and maybe I've even taken Australia at times, you know, as Germany. Going to war with Japan and just crushing another country. Oh yeah, no, Gamer crushes another country. Oh, okay, yeah. Gamer invades the Philippines, all the world against the Philippines. You know, it's just an exercise in, you know, crushing somebody. You know, I don't know. Again, it could be like all of Japan landing on the Philippines or something. We know they're going to win. You know, now the question is how well will it happen if they're also fighting in Burma, in Malaya, in Indonesia, still having to deal with, you know, if they were still at war with China and coming, you know, Pacific Islands, then you might have a question in doubt. You know, how much, you know, how many divisions can you send to the Philippines? You know, not that I don't think I will be able to take it. I do think I will be able to take it, but obviously if it goes somewhat vaguely historical, you know, it's going to be a limited amount of force I can put into the Philippines. Not that it's too limited or too minor to win. No, it's just it's going to be a fight because the Philippine Army probably isn't that good, and I don't know if there'll be any proper American units there. But it's because I have other commitments. So Japan, with a big sort of empire, that going against Germany, that would be interesting to me. And yes, if someone were to, say, build a Hearts of Iron 3, and I don't know if anybody's done build a Hearts of Iron 4 scenario, that would be interesting if they did. Sort of a, whether it's in the 40s, in the 50s, or set in the 60s, but whenever it's set, you know, that if you started out with Japan having, you know, much of this, then that might be an interest to do it from Germany's side, but not as I've ever seen the ending of a, you know, my playthrough of Germany defeating America, that Japan's almost never doing anything terribly interesting. Okay, you've got to stop. That was a good push, but you've got to stop. And they're defending good. And so, yes. if things go well for Germany and Russia, I will likely. Oh, let's get back to the. Yeah, sorry, I distracted myself here. So do I got artillery. Not that we don't need it, but adding anti-tank to this is probably not the best idea. We don't have anti-aircraft, and we don't have engineers. So let's look at this. So if we do anti-air upgrade, I guess armored engineers once we can upgrade. Keep it sort of fast, maybe. Do self-propelled artillery. Okay, so anti-air, self-propelled, maybe a tank destroyer, but we're not going to be researching tank destroyers probably. So that's again, guess we well. All we need to look here is, so we got a choice of 4. So armored engineers, anti-air, self-propelled artillery, and I guess tank destroyers or armored cars. Armored cars. Don't know that those are the best choices, but those are the choices we'll go with. Okay. Yeah, it won't be that good of a unit. Okay, so first let's go with engineer upgrade. First group engineers, yes. Second, anti-air upgrade, yes. Second group anti-air. Then we will do the artillery upgrade, and then the recon upgrade. Finish, you picked armored support techs. Okay, done. Okay. Now we can research those when we wish to. Okay, but back to production, because we're going to throw on an armor support unit. 24, pretty big, but this is going to be sort of our premier. Oh, that's pushed us too big for right now, but we will be doing that when we can. Yeah, I like this, because we still have to stick the headquarters on there, but oh, no, wait a minute. Yeah, how do we get 2? Yes. There we go. And we need to adjust here again. Well, I think we're going to end the episode here. I want to thank you all for watching. I want to thank you for liking the videos. I do appreciate that. And if you haven't already, please subscribe to the channel. And I love hearing from you. So post your questions, your ideas, what you think maybe about the future of this series. Because, hey, I love playing this game. If there's enough interest, I'll do all kinds of alt versions and split them off. But I just don't think there is. You know, Japan isn't as interesting to at least my current viewers as Germany is. So, but yeah, love hearing from you. See you next time for more Hearts of Iron.